The text message from Uncle Roberto arrived at 3:47 p.m. on December 20th, just as I was finishing my afternoon briefing at the federal building. I read it twice, sitting in my government-issued sedan in the parking garage, before responding with a simple understood. "You're banned from our prestigious Christmas party," the message had read. "Security guards have your photo. Martinez and Associates doesn't need family embarrassments at our most important client event of the year." This wasn't entirely surprising. For the past 4 years since I'd graduated from law school and disappeared into government work, my uncle's law firm had treated me like a family disappointment. Roberto Martinez had built Martinez and Associates into one of the most successful corporate law firms in the city, specializing in white-collar defense and corporate compliance. In his world, success meant partnership tracks, billable hours, and high-profile clients. In his world, I was a failure. Government work, the way my family said it, sounded like a euphemism for unemployment. They assumed I was pushing papers in some bureaucratic dead-end job, making a fraction of what I could have earned at a real law firm. My cousin Diego, Roberto's son, never missed an opportunity to remind me that first-year associates at Martinez and Associates made more than most government lawyers ever would. The Christmas party was their annual showcase, an opportunity to wine and dine their most important clients in the penthouse event space of the Meridian Tower. 500 guests, open bar, live jazz quartet, and enough networking opportunities to sustain the firm's business development for the entire following year. I wasn't surprised to be excluded. What did surprise me was the security detail. I drove home to my modest apartment in Arlington, the same one-bedroom place I'd been renting since law school. My family assumed I lived there because I couldn't afford anything better. The reality was more complicated. Federal employees in my position were required to maintain low-profile lifestyles. Conspicuous consumption raised questions about income sources that were difficult to answer without compromising operational security. At 7:30 p.m. I was reviewing case files on my couch when my secure phone buzzed. "Special Agent in Charge Patricia Wong." "Martinez," I answered. "Sophia, we have a situation. The Castellano investigation just accelerated. We need you at the Meridian Tower, 35th floor. Martinez and Associates Christmas party." I felt my stomach drop. "I see, Wong, I'm not exactly welcome at that party." "Why not?" "Long story. Family complications." There was a pause. "Sophia, this is operational priority. The Castellano money laundering network has been funneling cash through high-end law firms for 2 years. Tonight's party is cover for a major transaction. We need eyes and ears inside." I looked at my case files, then at my closet where a single black dress hung, the one I'd bought for law school graduation and never worn since. "What's my cover story?" "You're exactly who you are, Sophia Martinez, JD from Georgetown, currently working in government. Let people make their own assumptions about what kind of government work." "SEC Wong, my uncle literally has security guards with my photo instructed to keep me out." "Then we'll make sure they let you in. Bureau credentials tend to be persuasive." An hour later, I was standing outside the Meridian Tower in my 4-year-old dress and discount heels, holding my federal ID in one hand and my phone in the other. Through the glass lobby, I could see guests streaming toward the elevator banks, all designer suits and cocktail dresses, all looking like they belonged in a world I'd apparently chosen to leave behind. I called Roberto's office line. "This is Sophia," I said when his assistant answered. "I need to speak with my uncle. Ms. Martinez, Mr. Martinez specifically instructed that you not be admitted to tonight's event." "I understand. Just tell him I'm downstairs and I need 2 minutes of his time." 5 minutes later, Roberto appeared in the lobby, looking exactly like what he was, a successful corporate lawyer in a $3,000 suit, flanked by 2 security guards who looked like former cops. "Sophia," he said, his tone a mixture of embarrassment and annoyance. "I thought I made myself clear." "You did," I said. "Uncle Roberto, I need to attend tonight's party." "Absolutely not. This is our most important client event of the year. We have Fortune 500 CEOs, federal judges, the mayor's office. I can't have family drama disrupting business relationships I've spent decades building." One of the security guards stepped forward. "Sir, should we escort her out?" Roberto held up a hand. "Sophia, I'm sorry if this hurts your feelings, but you made your choice when you took that government job instead of joining the firm. Tonight is about serious legal work, not charity cases. I pulled out my federal credentials and held them where Roberto could see them. Special Agent Sofia Martinez, Financial Crimes Division, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Roberto's face went completely white. The security guards exchanged glances. "You're..." Roberto's voice came out as a whisper. "FBI," I confirmed. "And I need to attend your party tonight on official business." "Official business?" "Money laundering investigation. High-profile targets. I can't say more, but your cooperation would be appreciated." Roberto stared at my credentials like they might be fake. "Sofia, you've been working for the FBI for 4 years? Since graduation. And you never told us?" Federal agents don't typically advertise their employment status to civilian family members. The security guards were looking increasingly uncomfortable. Finally, Roberto found his voice. "Of course. Yes. Whatever the Bureau needs. Should I announce you differently? Just let me in and let me do my job. Pretend I'm exactly who everyone thinks I am, your disappointing niece who works some boring government job." The elevator ride to the 35th floor was silent except for Roberto's heavy breathing. When the doors opened, I was struck by how impressive the party actually was. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, crystal chandeliers, enough food and alcohol to cater a wedding, and exactly the kind of high-end networking event that made Martinez and Associates one of the most successful firms in the region. "Sofia." My Aunt Maria appeared immediately, looking shocked. "What are you doing here?" Roberto said. "Family emergency," Roberto said quickly. "Sofia needs to be here tonight." My cousin Diego approached with a drink in his hand and a condescending smile. Well. The government worker decided to join the private sector party after all. "Something like that," I said, scanning the crowd for faces from my investigation files. "How's the bureaucrat life treating you?" Diego continued. "Still pushing papers at the Social Security Administration?" "Something like that," I repeated, spotting Vincent Castellano near the bar, exactly who I was looking for. "Diego, maybe give Sofia some space tonight," Roberto said nervously. "Why? She's family. Sofia, you should meet some of our clients. Maybe you'll realize what you missed by taking that government job instead of joining a real law firm." Before I could respond, my earpiece crackled with Patricia Wong's voice. "Martinez, Castellano just entered the private conference room. 3rd floor, southeast corner. We need audio." I excused myself and made my way toward the conference room, trying to look like I was heading to the restroom. The hallway was empty, giving me a clear approach to the door where I could hear multiple voices discussing what sounded like financial transfers. I was positioning my recording equipment when footsteps approached from behind. "Sofia." It was my cousin Elena, Diego's younger sister. "What are you doing up here?" "Looking for the restroom," I said quickly. "It's back by the main party," Elena said suspiciously. "Are you okay? You seem different tonight." Before I could answer, the conference room door opened and 3 men in expensive suits emerged, including Vincent Castellano, who nodded politely at Elena and completely ignored me. Perfect. I'd gotten everything I needed. The rest of the party passed in a blur of small talk and family awkwardness. My relatives introduced me to their important clients as Sofia, who works in government, always with a tone that suggested this was vaguely embarrassing but unavoidable. I smiled, made appropriate conversation, and gathered intelligence on 2 additional money laundering targets while appearing to nurse a single glass of wine. At 10:30 p.m., just as the party was reaching peak networking energy, the elevator doors opened and 3 people in dark suits stepped out. Even in a room full of lawyers, they were immediately identifiable as federal agents. The lead agent approached the reception desk and spoke quietly to the hostess. Within seconds, Roberto was making his way across the crowded room, looking increasingly panicked. "Excuse me," the lead agent announced to the party in general. "FBI. We need to speak with Agent Martinez." The entire party went silent. 500 people in designer clothes holding champagne glasses, all staring at the federal agents who had just disrupted their networking event. Roberto's face had gone from white to green. Diego dropped his martini. "Agent Martinez is here?" Roberto said weakly. The lead agent scanned the crowd and made eye contact with me. "Special Agent Martinez, we need you for the Castellano briefing." I stepped forward from where I'd been standing near the windows, and suddenly 500 people were staring directly at me. Special Agent Martinez reporting, I said clearly. The silence in the room was deafening. Agent Martinez, the lead agent continued, the targets have been apprehended. We need your debrief on tonight's intelligence gathering. Understood, I said. Let me get my coat. As I walked through the crowd toward the coat check, I could hear whispered conversations starting throughout the room. That's Roberto's niece. She's FBI? Special Agent Martinez? How long has she been undercover? Elena grabbed my arm as I passed. Sophia, you're FBI? For years, I said quietly. But we all thought you were working some dead-end government job. I was working the government job I was assigned to work. Diego appeared looking stunned. Sophia, you're a federal agent? Financial Crimes Division, I confirmed. Roberto finally reached us looking like he might faint. Sophia, I had no idea. When you said government work, I assumed. You assumed correctly, I said. I work for the government. But not like this. The lead agent approached our family group. Agent Martinez, ready for debrief? Ready, I said. As we walked toward the elevator, Roberto followed. Sophia, wait. I owe you an apology. A huge apology. I stopped walking. Uncle Roberto, you don't owe me anything. Yes, I do. I treated you like an embarrassment. I banned you from family events. I assumed your career was a failure. My career is exactly what it needs to be. But I didn't know you were FBI. I didn't know you were working on important cases. Would it have mattered if you'd known? Roberto was quiet for a long moment. It shouldn't have mattered. Your worth as a person shouldn't depend on whether I understand your job. Maria had joined us, tears in her eyes. Sophia, we're so proud of you. We didn't know. I couldn't tell you, I said. Federal agents don't discuss their work with civilian family members, even family. Diego was shaking his head. Sophia, all this time we thought you were wasting your law degree. I use my law degree every day. Corporate financial crimes require extensive knowledge of business law, securities regulations, and criminal procedure. Lena looked confused. But your apartment, your car, your clothes. We thought you couldn't afford. Federal agents are required to maintain low-profile lifestyles, I explained. Conspicuous consumption raises questions about income sources. The lead agent checked his watch. Agent Martinez, we need to move. I hugged Roberto briefly. Uncle Roberto, thank you for hosting such a successful networking event. It was very helpful for our investigation. Our investigation? Money laundering network using high-end law firms for financial transfers. Tonight's party was perfect cover for intelligence gathering. Roberto's mouth fell open. You were working the entire time you were here? I'm always working. As the elevator doors closed, I could see my family standing in a cluster, all looking stunned and confused. Through the closing doors, I heard Diego say to his father, Dad, do you realize we just spent 4 years treating an FBI agent like she was unemployed? The debrief lasted until 2 a.m. The Castellano money laundering network had been operating for 3 years, moving over $50 million through various professional service firms, including 3 law firms that used high-end client events as cover for financial transactions. Tonight's intelligence had provided the final pieces needed to secure indictments against 7 key figures. Outstanding work, Martinez, S.C. Wong said as we finished reviewing the recorded conversations. Your family connections provided access we couldn't have gotten any other way. About that, I said. My family situation is complicated now. How so? They know I'm FBI. 4 years of thinking I was a failure, and now they know I'm a federal agent working financial crimes. S.C. Wong was quiet for a moment. How do you feel about that? Honestly, relieved. It was exhausting pretending to be someone I'm not. But I'm not sure how to navigate family relationships when they're based on a complete misunderstanding of who I am and what I do. Maybe that's an opportunity to build relationships based on who you actually are instead of what they thought you were. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages from various family members. The messages ranged from apologies, Sophia, I'm so sorry for how we treated you, to excitement, my cousin is FBI, to confusion, why didn't you tell us? Roberto's message was the longest. Sophia, I've spent all night thinking about the past 4 years and how badly I misjudged your choices. I banned you from family events because I was embarrassed by what I thought was your lack of ambition. Now I realize you were pursuing one of the most challenging and important careers possible, and I was too narrow-minded to recognize it. I hope you can forgive me, and I hope we can rebuild our relationship based on mutual respect rather than my misconceptions about success. I was still reading messages when my secure phone rang. Si Wong again. Martinez, we have a problem. The Castellano arrests made national news. Your undercover status is compromised. How compromised? Front page of the Washington Post. FBI agent uses family law firm party to break money laundering ring. There's a photo of you leaving the Meridian Tower with the arrest team. I sat down heavily on my couch. What does this mean for my career? It means you're being reassigned. No more undercover work. But the director is impressed with your work on financial crimes. There's a supervisory position opening in the white-collar crime division. Supervisory. Assistant Special Agent in charge, white-collar crime. Significant pay increase, better benefits, and you'd be overseeing investigations instead of working undercover. I thought about my modest apartment, my low-profile lifestyle, the 4 years of family gatherings I'd missed because my cover required maintaining distance from people who might ask too many questions about my work. Si Wong, does this position require the same lifestyle restrictions? Supervisory agents have more flexibility in their personal lives, as long as they maintain appropriate operational security. Meaning you can finally buy a car that isn't 15 years old and live somewhere with more than one bedroom. That afternoon I drove to Martinez and Associates to see Roberto. The receptionist's eyes widened when I introduced myself. Special Agent Martinez, she said, her voice filled with awe. Mr. Martinez has been expecting you. Roberto's corner office overlooked the city, with law books lining every wall and framed photographs of him with various judges and politicians. He stood up immediately when I entered, looking nervous and hopeful. Sophia, thank you for coming. Uncle Roberto, we need to talk. Yes, we do. First, I owe you the apology of a lifetime. You already apologized last night. Not sufficiently. He gestured to the chairs across from his desk. Sophia, I spent 4 years treating you like a disappointment because your career choices didn't match my narrow definition of success. I sat down, still wearing my federal credentials clipped to my suit jacket. You thought I was wasting my law degree. I thought you were afraid to compete in the private sector. I thought you'd taken an easy government job because you couldn't handle the pressure of real legal work. And now I realize you were doing legal work that's infinitely more challenging and important than anything we do here. Corporate compliance and white-collar defense? We help rich people avoid consequences. You catch criminals who steal from ordinary people. I was quiet for a moment. Roberto, both types of legal work are important. Your clients deserve good representation, and your compliance work helps companies follow the law. But I dismissed your choice without understanding it. Yes, you did. Sophia, is there any way we can start over? Can I earn back your respect and trust? I looked around his office, the expensive furniture, the prestigious awards, the photographs with powerful people. All the external markers of success that had seemed so important to him. Roberto, I never lost respect for you as a lawyer or as a family member. I just needed you to respect my choices even when you didn't understand them. I want to understand what you do, why it matters, how I can support you. I can't discuss specific cases or operations. But I can tell you that financial crimes investigation requires extensive knowledge of business law, corporate structure, securities regulation, and international banking. Every day I use everything I learned in law school and more. Roberto nodded slowly. And the arrests last night? 3-year investigation. Money laundering network moving tens of millions of dollars through professional service firms. Last night's party provided the final intelligence needed to secure indictments. Including intelligence gathered at my party. Yes. Sophia, I feel like an idiot. I banned you from an event where you were actually working to catch criminals. You didn't know. I should have trusted you. I should have asked better questions about your work instead of making assumptions. We sat in silence for a moment. Finally, Roberto said, "What happens now? With your career, with our family relationship?" I'm being promoted to assistant special agent in charge of white-collar crime. And I'd like to start attending family events again if you'll have me. If we'll have you. Roberto's voice cracked slightly. Sophia, we'd be honored to have you. We've missed you at every gathering for 4 years. Even though my work will still involve catching people who commit financial crimes? Especially because your work involves catching people who commit financial crimes. 6 months later, I was settled into my new position overseeing white-collar crime investigations for the entire regional office. The work was challenging and fulfilling, involving complex financial crimes that required exactly the kind of legal expertise I'd developed over my career. I'd also moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a better neighborhood and bought a reliable car, nothing flashy, but significant upgrades from my undercover lifestyle. At the Martinez and Associates annual summer party, I attended as a welcome family member rather than a banned embarrassment. Roberto introduced me to clients as my niece, Assistant Special Agent in Charge Sophia Martinez, FBI White-Collar Crime Division. The conversations were fascinating. Instead of treating law enforcement as an adversary, Roberto's clients were interested in understanding how federal investigations worked, what compliance issues they should be aware of, and how they could better cooperate with regulatory requirements. Sophia, one CO said during cocktail hour, your uncle tells me you've worked financial crimes for 5 years. Almost 6 now. What's the biggest mistake you see companies making? Assuming they can hide financial irregularities through complexity. Modern investigative techniques and artificial intelligence make it easier than ever to trace money flows, even through sophisticated structures. Roberto, who was standing nearby, smiled. My niece has become our unofficial consultant on compliance best practices. Unofficial. The FBI doesn't provide consulting services, I clarified. But I can discuss general compliance principles and investigative techniques in educational contexts. Diego approached our group, looking genuinely interested rather than condescending for the first time in years. Sophia, I've been reading about the Castellano case. The financial analysis you did to track the money laundering. How did you learn those techniques? Law school provided the foundation, but most of it was on-the-job training. Financial crimes investigation combines legal analysis, accounting principles, computer forensics, and traditional detective work. It sounds incredibly complex. It is. That's what makes it interesting. Elena joined us, holding her infant daughter. Sophia, I want Anna to grow up knowing she can pursue any career that challenges her, whether it's traditional or unconventional. The most important thing is finding work that matches your skills and values, I said, taking Anna's tiny hand. Success isn't about external recognition. It's about making a meaningful contribution. Roberto raised his wine glass. To Sophia, who taught our family that success has many different forms, and that the most important work often happens where people aren't looking. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Roberto and I stood together on the office balcony, looking out over the city lights. Sophia, can I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you ever regret not joining the firm? The traditional path, partnership track, the financial rewards. I thought about the question while watching traffic move through the streets below. Roberto, I love what I do. I wake up every morning knowing that my work helps protect people from financial predators. I solve complex puzzles that have real consequences for victims of crime. The financial rewards are sufficient, and the personal satisfaction is enormous. But you could have made more money in private practice. Money isn't the only measure of a successful career. I'm doing work that matters, using skills that challenge me and making a difference in people's lives. Roberto was quiet for a moment. I wish I'd understood that 4 years ago. You understand it now. That's what matters. Sophia, I'm proud of you. Not just because you're successful, but because you were brave enough to choose a path that was right for you, even when your family didn't support it. Thank you, Uncle Roberto. That means a lot. As I drove home that evening, I reflected on how much had changed since that December night when I'd been banned from the family Christmas party. The work remained challenging and fulfilling, but now I had the added satisfaction of family relationships based on mutual respect rather than misconceptions about success. My phone buzzed with a text from Azasi Wong. Martinez, excellent work on the Hansen investigation. The financial analysis you developed is being adopted as standard protocol for multi-jurisdictional cases. I smiled, thinking about the 16-year-old version of myself who'd wanted to be a lawyer, the law school graduate who'd chosen federal service over private practice, and the FBI agent who'd spent 4 years working cases while her family worried about her career prospects. Sometimes the most important work happens where people aren't looking. And sometimes, if you're patient enough and committed enough, the people who matter most will eventually see what you've been building all along.